I'm a chameleon here.
I have half the brain that you do.
I did it for The Rock.
Oh my God! The Most Crucial Podcast presents Crucial Squared Circle, the most crucial wrestling podcast with Mark Franchise and Davison Sarai.
A little bit of the bubbly. And that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold said so.
All right, welcome back to the Crucial Squared Circle, 104.9 The Edge, and all sorts of awesomeness, all a part of Crucial Podcasts. It's Mark Franchise here, joined as always with my ever lovely guests, Davison Sarai.
Hey, Franchise, Orange Cassidy for president.
Orange Cassidy for president, and our good buddy T as well.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. As long as we got vice president going along with him, another round of Orange Cassidy. Get that full vitamin C.
100%. Now they are
president and vice president. I just want to take note real quick there, T. Did you notice that we were guests this evening?
Oh, yeah. No, I was aware, because last time, apparently, he replaced us with someone else. Most of us, at least. Guests?
I was actually about to say, always joining me as my co-host, but,
Thank you.
I kind of got...
Let's get it right.
Hey, we got cards with our names on it.
I know. I made them.
Yeah.
I paid for them. I remember.
Yeah,
I was there. I designed them.
Well, don't waste your money.
It's already spent. We're already famous.
Yes, indeed. No, they're like the only reason that we're doing this right now, because I wanted to do this, and I just needed people who knew shit about wrestling, and you two are probably the two wisest wrestling minds in the land.
Keep listening.
Yeah, please. Flattery will get you everywhere with me.
Yeah, can I? Do you have $5 that I could like?
What do you think of all that? What do you think of all that early '80s nostalgia I've got for you?
Oh man,
Sexy, right?
Man,
I could tell you all about early AWA.
Say those words. Spell it out for me.
I could tell you
are the network.
I could tell you about Harley Race's pants pulled up closer to his nipples than his belly button.
Woo.
I could tell you about Tessa Blanchard's dumbass slingshot suplex on metal ropes, so he had to work 3 times harder to suplex him. What do you want to know? I'll tell you all of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you are the network.
I know. Thank you.
Hey, what are we talking about tonight?
Hi. We're talking.
What are you guys doing? What are you doing over there?
We're going to get into all sorts of action. Our main topic, we're going to talk about some wrestlers we'd like to see jump ship. But there's a lot to get into, especially everything that happened this past week. Of course, with Bash at the Beach. That was
okay. Hold on.
Shivani was drunk.
Hold on.
I bet you $20 Shivani was drunk.
Shrooms,
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Somebody was drunk, and then on top of that, at the end, as they signed off, maybe I don't know, but they said we'll see you next week at Bash at the Beach. Are they doing that again?
Yeah, I heard that.
Is next week Bash at the Beach also, or did they lie to us? Was today pre-Bash at the Beach?
There is a protocol there to excuse yourself for a commercial break and then say, just kidding, we're not going anywhere. But then going on commercial break anyway. So, I mean, it's entirely in the cards that they just kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
It happens.
I guess it remains to be seen until we start seeing some promos for the matches for next week. I
like the idea of them being incredibly petty because they won the lawsuit over the copyright.
Just use
every
it.
week. Yeah, every week.
Right.
Dynamite at the beach every single goddamn week.
Bash at the Beach presents normal Wednesday Night Dynamite.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Throwing it in their face.
Dusty Rhodes Wednesday at the beach. Dynamite.
Just use that name. I'm interested in what else he picked up. We were talking about it a couple weeks ago, but I can't remember all the ones that he picked up. That's unfortunate as hell that he didn't get Starrcade. I tell you, that was very frustrating because they keep dropping them all. All right, for those that are wondering, the they and the he and the though, they being WWE dropping the ball on Starrcade. We spoke on that. We talked on that. We all know that. That's been happening. When we were talking about he, I was talking about Cody Rhodes, the son of a plumber, grandson of a plumber, however which way you put it. I was wishing that he would have gotten Starrcade in the bit of all the things that he picked up.
Yeah. That's another one of those things, too, where you're not going to convince me Vince isn't going to use the title to make some money, because they still run Starrcade once a year.
Oh, yeah, they do.
It's a nothing happening house show.
Yeah.
That they drop on the network 2 hours afterwards.
Don't you dare tell me that's coincidental. Okay, what about Barry and Dusty? No, he wasn't Barry and Dusty. What about those polka dots? No, he was Common. What about Sapphire? Well, she was Common. What about his kid in gold and black in a gimp suit? Oh, what about, get the fuck out of here. It's quite obvious. Yeah. He just wipes his ass on the old NWA history.
Well, and then, you've got Cody Rhodes who's trying to do his own thing, and then they're like, you know what? You're going to be Stardust. Oh, sweet.
Right.
a ripoff of a terrible idea.
Sure.
You know,
Because that was gonna take him right to the top.
And again, look at what Starrcade used to mean. Starrcade was like the premier event. I would say that's up there with like their WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's what a lot of folks would.
And that's what I'm
it is.
saying. Is it's just a degrading thing. Because imagine if it had gone the other way. If Crockett had won and he decided to take WrestleMania and make that Thursday Night Thunder. Welcome to Thursday Mania.
That's honestly
I would put it on par
is.
with maybe 205. That's what they're kind
equivalent.
of running it the closest to, is that they're putting it on the same level of 205 with the main roster material or main roster folks.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally dumb that they didn't just relinquish that to him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
petty as fuck.
And again, AEW has the ability to take that and give it new prestige. It's a new company. They're taking it in a different direction, and people who still don't see that, I'm really failing to see how you can't see the difference in product.
You know what I wish they would have taken in a different direction? DDP shirtlessness at the beach.
Oh my God.
Talk about the crypt keeper out for a surf. Holy shit.
God.
He was
Yoga
never-
matters.
He's in incredible health. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah,
What
no
is
doubt.
he?
He
He's
is
in his
incredible
60s,
health.
early 60s.
Really?
He can
Yeah.
grab his heel and stick his foot over his head like it's nothing.
I mean,
Right.
You
Very
got to learn how to
impressive.
suck your dick really early.
I missed the first part of that.
What?
Repeat what now?
DDP had to learn how to suck his own dick very early.
I was afraid that's what you'd said. Would you care to elaborate so that makes any modicum of goddamn sense?
Visit his channel.
What?
Yeah, visit his channel. It's a conversation piece. Somebody made a joke about it, and he's like, actually, I'm very flexible.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, didn't need to know that and didn't need to see him without his shirt off on Dynamite Bash at the Beach this past one.
Bang!
You know in horror movies when there's like torture scenes and they put cigarettes out on people like over and over and then you see those scars.
Poor guy.
DDP has something like that happening across most of his upper torso.
That you just drew an image of what's his face hanging from the rafters, getting tiny cuts. What's that guy's name? The racist, Mel Gibson.
Jesus.
Mel Gibson was in a movie where I think he had water being poured on him, and he was being tortured, and he was getting small cuts on his torso.
Braveheart.
No, that was him getting stretched.
Ladies and gentlemen, making his way to the ring, the racist.
Was it what women want?
Wait. Would he be the racist Mel Gibson, or would it be Mel, the racist Gibson?
Well, no, it would have to go in the middle because to say the racist Mel Gibson would be to suggest that there's a non-racist Mel Gibson out here somewhere.
Yeah. Give me back my $16.
What? It just comes out. It's natural for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a wild beginning to the episode, folks. We got self-high fives.
That is the self high five.
Dermatological bashing at the beach.
That's a lot of sun.
Oh my God! So King Baron Corbin, who can draw zero,
All of us
crowds.
groan. He's a very okay. Hey, I don't like him as a character. I don't
Yes.
like his character. Haven't liked his character, but very nice man.
Okay,
But that means he's gotten over as a heel, doesn't it? We're here like talking out of kayfabe and we hate him.
No,
Like I don't know anything about that guy personally.
I do.
No, I
He's
don't.
very nice. Wait, are you
and
saying?
he may
Wait.
be-
So I'm saying that means like they got us. They got us.
No, I disagree.
He healed us.
No.
and
No. Nice
here's
man.
the thing.
No.
It's funny because again, this is an old mentality, and this is where these WWE superstars they continue to screw up because they look like idiots. And it may just be an opinion, but like, run with me on this, right?
Okay.
When you think back of like the Monday Night Wars and when WCW was starting to put the foot down on WWE's throat, what did they do? They started taking shots at Hogan and Macho Man and Ted Turner with those vignettes that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of goofy and just dumb as hell.
the Nacho Man.
Yeah, the Nacho Man. And,
I'm
the
hungry.
huckster.
and it was that mentality where it's like, dude, they don't exist. Don't acknowledge them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're not worth your time, you really don't need to acknowledge them.
Right.
But if you're acknowledging them, you see them as a threat. And that's exactly what Baron Corbin did, where he basically tore apart the entire opening card of this past week's Bash at the Beach, where he's like, spot, 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 jump, dive, stunt,
Wait,
dive,
where did he tear these folks
neckbeards,
apart?
this is awesome.
Was he on Twitter or something?
Yeah, he was on Twitter. He said,
Man, I am far from the bird on this. I don't know. The bird being the Twitter verse.
Yeah. I'm not on Twitter either, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff that hits the news. You know, that you mentioned it, I did see something go by about Baron Corbin buries AEW, but I was just like, everybody from WWE and that particular universe, they bury it anyway, so it didn't even strike me as a story.
he said winner gets a title shot, so ... Forget covers, everybody gets pops, spot, 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 dive, 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 spot, 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 dive, 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 spot, dive, spot, group spot, dive, get your shit in, neckbeards, this is awesome. And then he put the gif of Joe from Team America puking all over the street. Basically taking a shot at the entire tag team match.
As a dizzy, overwhelming jumble of mess. No.
And, people are firing back, and it's better than watching you do chin locks for 10 minutes.
Thank you.
And,
by the way, oh, never mind. I was about to take a low blow. Never mind.
Yeah.
Unwarranted. Yeah. That's the thing. That's why I'm saying has he healed me? You know what I mean by that? I'm not saying he's made me healthier. Again, I got to go back to seeing what. I got to go back to seeing Up, Up, Down, Down, and I know that's not part of the canon, but he is one of the revolving door of people who comes through, and he's still kind of a dork. Like, Miz is kind of still Miz. You know what I mean? He's still kind of Baron Corbin, but he does get along with everybody. Yeah. But, I don't know. I just find him to be really boring. I don't think he has any kind of special charisma.
That's what I'm saying. It's just, again, it was
he's
like
just
when
bland.
It's like, oh, sweet, another tall guy with a black beard and long black hair who's angry about something. Awesome. We got Drew McIntyre, we got Seth Rollins, we got Baron Corbin. Oh, okay, cool. He shaved his head. Still bland. And I get he's a heel, and I think, that's where he wants to get us. Like, oh, man, he freaking healed us. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, first of all, thanks for watching. Mm-hmm. Second of all,
Thank you for watching AEW. They got one more viewer.
Thanks for contributing to that.
Yeah. And by the way, what a fucking number landslide it was, but we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And again, it's just a matter of, one, he's watching, two, he's getting on Twitter and he's talking about it. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to do everything they can to discredit them on a personal basis. But it's like, AEW, without a doubt, is the number 2 brand in the world right now. Now, don't get me wrong, Impact and Ring of Honor, they're still huge names, but...
You always skip NJPW, though, when we do this.
Well, that's true. And it's not...
And AAA.
Not to discredit any of them at all, but it's like, AEW's got a lot of money backing them right now.
Sure they do.
And they've got a network television contract now, which has been extended through 2023
for a lot of money too.
Yeah.
What is it, like 175 million?
Yeah, and that's another thing that I kind of find interesting about this is, and we were talking about this earlier. They've announced that they're going to add a second show, which you two showed a little skepticism about and a little worry about. But I look at it like this is not only a new company, but this is also the same exact company that dumped WCW because they were losing money.
Yeah.
So their expectations for AEW have to be a little bit, the bar that they're setting has to be a little low, I would imagine. They say, hey, do this and we'll be happy. And it seems like AEW is exceeding those expectations.
The concern I was expressing, it was Bischoff on 83 Weeks. And he always talks about how Thunder, he just wishes that had never been thrust upon him.
True.
That was never his idea. That was always the company's. And the network. Now, are we saying AEW chose to do a secondary, or that TNT was saying we're giving you money and you're giving us a secondary?
I think TNT is requested.
They're the one saying it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the position Bischoff was in, and he was saying, like, yeah, they had a huge roster and they had enough talent, Yeah. But then there was the issue of the cost of extra travel for everybody. You needed 2 road crews suddenly, so you doubled all of that cost.
Yeah.
And double the trucks and. So it was just like aside from having to figure out how to now write for a handful more like main storylines. Just the logistics became a money-sucking nightmare. You know?
I did see a post today, though, from AEW that said, I would like to see blank on the new program. So it looks like they're actively asking their fan base, what do you want to see?
Right.
I mean, that would make sense.
What makes you happy? And it's not like this machine of, what do you want? Okay, we'll give it to you. Okay, we're happy. Yay. You can take it in so many new creative directions.
Yeah.
That it's, and this goes back to, you know, this is kind of alluding to the main topic tonight of who you want to see jump ship. And that kind of has to do with this as well, which is just, you know, the things that AEW needs to improve on, because they've got a lot of improvements I feel like they need to make. Mm-hmm. But overall, I'm having fun watching their product more than I am any other product.
You know what I realized the other day? What's happening, I think that people continue to be surprised. Like, I heard that there are a lot of people within WWE who are really surprised when AEW pulled the big number they did this week.
Yeah.
They only lost like 7,000 people. It was almost exactly the same from the week before.
Yeah.
Which is really great. It held like exactly steady. NXT lost another 200,000.
No, it didn't.
So it was like 960,000 to like 550 this time around. So, I mean, that's
AEW was the fifth highest rated show at that time frame of the week.
That's something like an 80% pounding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, big time.
Like that means a lot.
So, damn.
It's just it's a steady fan base. They're appealing. I feel like they're appealing to fans like us who want to see wrestling. They want to see good wrestling. They want to be entertained. They also want to have fun.
That was the point I was going to make. It's like are their skits as well produced? Is there as much money put into the production and all that? Absolutely not. I would argue that some of their stuff is way more entertaining just because that's my sense of humor, more so. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think you just nailed it. I think people who are really WWE fans, part of that is the production value. Part of it is the kind of Hollywood kind of traits to some of this stuff. I think those of us who come to AEW are strictly for the action, and we know it doesn't matter if the writing is particularly great. Like, okay, whatever. We usually laugh at how bad some of this stuff is. And we still tune in because the wrestling is head and shoulders above. And
it's something that when we were watching Wrestle Kingdom that you pointed out, when we were watching Will Ospreay versus Takahashi, you laughed and you were like, this is the guy that Seth Rollins was talking shit about.
Yeah.
And if you watched that match, I've never seen Seth Rollins have half a good a match as that was. And that's just one of the amazing matches that kid's having. And again, it goes back to that mentality. Well, okay, so he knows he's a better wrestler than him, so fuck you. I'm in WWE and I make lots of money.
Well, yeah, and that's what exactly. That's the thinking in there. You get into that tent, and then they tell you if you have more people put their eyes on you in a given week, you're better. It doesn't mean you got more coverage. It means you're better. If you sell more T-shirts and make more money than the guy in the indies, you're better. Like, again, it's all the bells and whistles and the money on the sides, and it seems like they always deprioritize what's in the ring, or they rationalize it because they can say, well, what about all this money we make? Clearly we're doing something right.
Yeah, that's a fallacy.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, that's the thing, though. They are making money. They just need to stop calling themselves a wrestling company.
Right.
And then I'll let it go. Because clearly they're doing something right. It's just not the same fucking thing as all these other wrestling companies.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, Corbin, as much as I appreciate his candor in person, and I have met him, fancy me, meeting a man wearing a unicorn outfit, he's very nice in person, but when it comes down to his character, I don't think that we've been marked out. I think that he's drinking his own Kool-Aid as to what everybody else is at WWE. Yeah. It's just this,
I'm in WWE, so my shit's better, and you're
right.
You're a joke.
It's like the idea of making it, but the problem is once you've made it, it's a certain level of retirement for a lot of these folks. So, like in the same bar, in the same platform, if these folks in their age or in their age bracket, or even in their talent bracket, are seeking to achieve a certain point in which they can then call it making it.
Yeah.
What's his name? Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
And Asuka. Both of whom have been doing stellar on their outside of WWE career. But when they come into WWE, this is their putting their coat on the shelf for a moment and then taking a break. And they're not saying and blasting out everywhere that they are the best in the industry, but they are also sitting there collecting that check, and then still after that term is over, they have the opportunity to go elsewhere if they so choose.
There's a handful of Japanese folks who have taken that route. They're like, yeah, I've already done it all in Japan, and I've got my ass kicked for 10 years. I'll go chill out. I'll make 3 times more money.
Exactly.
Whatever. I've already proven it. So.
But the problem is that that same bar is not across the board. I would say that Baron Corbin, I don't know his indie record or in that depth, but I would say it is not as challenged as some of these other folks who are able to call it a day after they've reached WWE. But I guess what I'm saying is, just because you make it to WWE does not mean that you've made it. No. And that's what that mindset is. And then it's warranted for those that are deciding to just cash the check in and let it sit on the back burner.
Yeah.
But this dude's not fighting for it.
Well, Corbin's mindset's going to be even worse, though, because he came right from the NFL and an injury into the NXT. He didn't have any indie wrestling. He's all WWE system.
Right. So this is another reason why he should bother me, I guess. it's just fitting into the mantra of the folks that don't meet the criteria, and then they're thrust into an environment. And also on that same vein, if he started in NXT, then shouldn't he have a little bit more endearment to those that come from other promotions? I would run with the thought and I'll actually hope in that same vein, but I guess not.
I think everybody's just got everybody in the new WWE is starting to have a Bret Hart complex where they're just taking themselves so damn seriously.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
They're sucking the life out of who that person actually is. Everyone's all serious business. I laughed, and it was a spot that I don't even know if you two even recognized, but it's just something that AEW offers me as a fan. There was a spot inside of the ring, and I can't remember who was wrestling. I think it may have been one of the I think it was someone from, I think it was maybe Omega was in the ring, or one of the Young Bucks was in the ring against somebody, I think maybe Hangman Page or something. I can't remember. And they had pulled off a sequence where it was like an impressive sequence where there was no, they were both on their feet, and the crowd was cheering. And then Santana turns his back. He looks at the audience and kind of gestures like, and he's like, big freaking deal, because where he's letting his personality out, and he's not even in the ring right now. And it was just one of those little things where it's like, it goes back to, are they having fun?
That's
and
fun,
even though
fluid.
And even though they're sticking to the storylines, they're letting these guys have fun. They're and I don't know. I just think it's funny when Jericho's standing there and he's like, we all went in there and beat the crap out of Moxley. We all kicked the shit out of him. And they celebrating. Come on, boys. It's just very cartoonish.
Yeah.
And it's just just entertaining. Again, they're having fun.
I'm willing to bet you Vince absolutely hates the idea of any of his golden boys, his tough guys, being silly.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you he thinks silly is the ultimate weak. Probably equates silly with gay or something, the way he is.
Did he fire that guy for smiling inappropriately?
Yeah, Paul London.
Yeah.
Paul London and Spanky were, at that point, the longest world tag champions in WWE history. Been over a year.
Really?
They were on SmackDown, yeah. This would have been early 2000s-ish. They were both guys who had come from Ring of Honor. Little known fact, they were both trained down at Michael Hickenbottom's training school in Texas.
Oh, that's interesting.
Along with Daniel Bryan, yeah. Vince was doing the thing where he was going to walk out to his exploding limousine. That was the night.
Okay.
And that was within days of the Benoit thing, right?
Yeah. Now I remember why all of this is making. And Bruce Campbell was involved with that.
Was he?
No, he was involved in something else.
But so everybody was lined up, watching him walk out to his car, like they were watching somebody go to the gallows. And Paul London was the only one with this big shit-eating grin on his face, smirking at him.
Yeah.
He got fired.
Wow.
Because Vince said he ruined the shot. That's how petty and ridiculous he is.
For a blip, the kid was on the screen.
And that dude is so talented.
Very talented.
Everywhere he's gone, he's ridiculous. Yeah, just another one of those Vince-isms.
Yeah, and to kind of hammer on the head once again the idea, or beat a dead horse, however which way you put it. Baron Corbin with his throwing shade and whatnot, not too cool, not too okay. Also in that same vein of drinking the Kool-Aid, the reason why I don't like him, and I'm just going to put it out there as a character or heel or whatever, it's not because he's done dirty deeds and has drawn my ire or gotten away with dastardly plans or anything like that. It's not because he's been a good bad guy. It's just because they poorly write him into that position and he's just bad at it. It's just a combination of those two. I think that's The reason why I don't want to say that I've been marked out to the idea of believing that in this whole he's a good heel is because I don't want to give credit to WWE Creative because I don't think that they deserve that.
Yeah, like the heat he's getting isn't because they wrote him correctly.
Yeah.
It's just that like I was saying, he's the exact awful combination of like vanilla, being grating, kind of monotonous, just kind of, I don't know. It's
No personality.
Like rotten vanilla pudding or something.
Yeah.
Again, nice guy in person. Very nice guy in person.
I don't
Come back
care.
to town.
Go hang out with him, not on my TV then. I don't need to watch it.
We did at Stella's.
Listen to his dumbass.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't talk much.
If he wants to be friends, he can hang out with us at freaking Waldo's on Wednesday while we watch AEW.
You know who's the exact opposite in entertainment value from old Corbin? Marty the Villain Scurll.
Yes.
What a week that dude had.
Dude, big time.
So there had been this whole thing where, he was the hot free agent, right?
Yeah.
And it's starting to really look very interesting because of the timeline of when he was in NJPW, he was Bullet Club,
Yep.
right along with Omega and Hangman and the Bucks. That was your big inner group. Everybody left, obviously, and landed in AEW, but Scurll's contract held out for like another year.
Yeah, it did.
He's also been in Ring of Honor the whole time because ROH is the last American company that I know of that's passing people back and forth, at least one of the major, like 4 or 5, back to Japan. So, he'd been splitting his time. His contract was coming up, and AEW and WWE obviously had the most money to throw at him.
Yeah.
And I heard the numbers were just going way up there. WWE was suggesting he could skip right over NXT. They really wanted him. Turns out, Ring of Honor, I don't know where they came up with it. If they sent some of the wrestlers out to rob houses or something.
Yeah.
They apparently offered Scurll, quote, main event, main roster money.
Wow.
Six figures and probably closer to 7.
Wow.
A lot of money per year. Check this out, though. And he's been put in charge of creative.
That says a lot. That's a lot. That's...
So Delirious is going to slip to the side, and he's still going to handle a lot of the planning and some of the office stuff.
Yeah.
Scurll is in the control seat. So now, hear me out. I just want to interject this, and then we'll talk about the whole thing.
Please.
How awesome is it now? Now, it's not going to happen in WWE because that corporation's way too dug in. But think about how basically Scurll is now going to be in control of how Ring of Honor interacts with Japan. And Scurll is absolutely in bed with all those guys from the Elite still.
Yeah.
Now that he's in charge, I got to figure he's going to be able to be the one now to bridge it. And we're going to see that 3-way working relationship of Ring of Honor, AEW, NJPW. Boom, boom.
That would spell so much fucking trouble for WWE.
Think about all the super match shows you could have once a year with each company. It was just like this never, who knows what's going to happen, but I just want to put that out there because who knows?
It's not a too far-fetched of a take because according to Dave Meltzer, who writes for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, AEW's decision makers actually intended Scurll to be the leader of Dark Order.
Yeah.
And primarily because he's close with Cody, Bucks, Omega, and Adam Page, since they were a part of the Elite and Ring of Honor in Japan. And, he was kind of offered that money and that position. How do you turn something like that down? Where you could be like, okay, we're going to pay you more than they're going to pay you, and you get creative control. All right.
Guess how many dates he has to work for that money?
Right.
40.
What?
Unbelievable.
Ring of Honor barely run shows.
Yeah, and they record them all.
They've got pay-per-views once every handful of months. They don't do a monthly.
Been to a couple, actually.
And then they've got their TV show, which I think they probably do several per date.
Yeah.
So, it's not like he's a big bump machine. He wrestles kind of an old-school British technical style.
Yeah.
Okay.
He could wrestle for another 25, 30 years the way he goes.
I'm just, it's a really interesting take. Like I said, I would love to see, again, to go back to the territorial days where you have companies working together, and that's again that's the danger when you look back at what Vince McMahon did in the '80s, and you're like, wow, how revolutionary is that? But in a way, you pigeonhole yourself. Mm-hmm. And now we're past that point where he created. He had this monopoly, and he took all of them, and he's like, bam, I got them all.
Right.
But he forgot that he doesn't hold a monopoly over the wrestling world. He's not leader of the wrestling world. He doesn't own the rights to wrestling on the planet Earth. Other people can create new federations, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing, Ring of Honor, Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW. Now these aren't weak ass wannabe like TNA, we're like, yeah, they're nothing. They've got nothing on us.
What's up? TNA made it for 10. TNA is Impact. People still want to talk smack, and I'll admit I'm not a big fan of old TNA or Impact at this point. I'll watch some stuff here and there when I hear something big happen.
Yeah,
but I mean, they've stayed open for 15 plus.
Yeah,
that's not a small feat.
No,
so we
it's
can keep
not.
sneezing at it, but a lot of other companies that haven't done it. I don't think Cornette's company ever made it that long.
No, it didn't.
Right.
The thing about gobbling up competition is that you then have no competition. If you start trying to create somebody else on the side of that, then it's not going to be in a position that you're going to have something that people are going to take seriously.
Yeah.
That's why that whole idea of a 205, NXT, and started having an issue is because you create something and then people automatically assume it's a feeder program. I find it most interesting if they're going to go the right of the Dark Order, because I like the idea of an anonymous blank-faced plague showing up at AEW periodically and already starting that for early on in the programming that can then in turn be just somebody that they throw out there tied to Ring of Honor. Who's always been here? Somebody that's always been present. Somebody that's always been feeding you, but also somebody who's been poisoning you.
So are you saying that they could acknowledge that one of the main heels on AEW that heads this huge faction is actually one of the main characters on Ring of Honor? And they would acknowledge that on the air?
I think that would take some time, but yeah.
That would be really cool.
I think that would be something that would, like, a good reveal. And also in that same vein is that keeps the suspense up. That keeps a certain level of you don't know what the hell's going to show up.
Right.
And I think that because, again, when the whole jump happened back in the day with these big moments that we talk about on a constant basis, Lex Luger showing up on Monday Night Nitro, or Monday Night Nitro.
Yep. That show at the mall.
The show at the mall. Yeah, the Minneapolis Mall of America. And then you've got actually Vince McMahon showing up on the buyout over of WCW, and then his son then turning up later on in the evening. You've got these big major moments that are significant, and I dig it, and I can get behind it. And I think that doing something like that, where you have somebody that has gained momentum in another arena, has gained their own right to basically say, I have my presence here and I actually dominate this industry, and then showing them up as a threatening force, like black out the whole night, have all of the whole stadium just put on face masks that say we are the Dark Order, and then guess what? Ring of Honor flashes on the screen, and guess what? We're taking over. That would scare the shit out of me, and that would make me go, okay, AEW, I'm interested in what else you're putting out there.
Speaking of that, I don't know, we were talking earlier about all the good wrestling that's been on TV across multiple companies recently.
Yeah.
The very end of the NXT UK takeover that was in Blackpool just last weekend.
Yeah.
I watched last year's. That was dope.
Oh, it's really good. I don't care much for their roster. I'm really big into British wrestling, but again, they're passing it through the WWE lens. So
are you taking your shoe off?
Huh?
There's a chant that I love. It's something along the lines if you hate so-and-so, take your shoes off.
And then they are holding them up.
That place has to smell.
Yeah. Well, so Walter is the champion. Of course it smells. It's in Blackpool, England. Walter's the champion over there, and then his group is called Imperium.
Yeah.
They've got a thing coming up pretty soon called Worlds Collide, where UK NXT matches happen against American NXT people.
That happened
right?
last year.
Yes, it did. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But so at the very end of the pay-per-view, spoiler alert, Walter squashes his opponent because hello.
Yeah.
Imperium gets in the ring, and then Undisputed Era comes pouring in out of nowhere. There'd never been any build-up to it. There'd been some shots fired because of the upcoming thing. They poured over that thing. And remember when the Shield emerged and they were they kind of looked like rabid dogs at the time, nothing happened like that? I swear to you, look into it. This was ferocious. This made the Shield debut almost look a little bit tame.
Really?
The way they went.
Hell yeah.
They were just they shredded that place. And so they took all three of his goons outside the ring and put them down. And then Walter, the big mountain, gets in the ring. And then here come the hyenas. All four of them get in around him.
Yeah.
And they're all way tinier than him.
Yeah, no doubt.
But they just pick him to pieces.
Yeah.
That was real cool. But so the idea of that happening, WWE is trying to invent what the rest of the world now has, which is an emerging territory system again, effectively.
Right.
So if you did have Ring of Honor people run in and they jumped Dark Order or whatever it is, that would have that same crazy hype.
It's the same thing. Well, again, and it goes back to when WWE's backs were against the wall and they enlisted ECW to come in, and it drew attention. And it's how history repeats itself. But this time around, it's completely different because it's not necessarily that WWE is creating such a compelling show that these brands are so desperate that they have to do things like this in order to get the crowd's attention. It's actually the opposite, where WWE has just created such a melancholy product to me, where nothing about it is exciting to me. Nothing personally, other than NXT stuff. There's very few things, and I'm starting to come around to this Aleister Black, this angle with Aleister Black and
Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Murphy now joining Seth Rollins and all that.
I'm stoked about that, actually.
There are a few things. It's not like I'm totally against the product, but it's and this is just my point of view too, of course, but I'm seeing a product that is extremely watered down that I feel WWE is kind of like, it's reminiscent of CM Punk talking about when WCW got Bret Hart, where they're like, sweet.
They did absolutely nothing with him.
Just chuck that in the backseat.
I will say it was pretty cool when he strapped that piece of metal to his stomach and let Goldberg
but that's like the
gore
only thing
him
he's
with the
known
top of his
for.
head.
Right.
He gored him with the top of his head, knocked himself out.
Gore.
Can we take a sidestep and talk about how your gore versus spear conversation went yesterday?
Gore.
It's still going on.
Is it really?
Still going.
I gotta say, and I know you guys were like, I know you two were like, I think you jumped the gun on the thing a little bit. And
You talked about your uncle, your great uncle, Pappy, whoever the hell. And
Thaddeus Gore.
That's what it was.
Invented the move.
Yeah. Also invented climate change, it turns out.
What's that?
Gore. Never mind.
Oh, God.
And the internet.
Too highbrow for a wrestling show.
Climate change, we'll
Super
say it.
cereal right now.
Open my fridge.
Oh, yeah. So let me see where we're at currently with this. Okay, 10 likes. Most of them are laughing at me.
So I was talking shit when we were at AEW the other night, and I was like, you know what would be really funny? If you got on that goofy Facebook wrestling page, and all you had to put was this. Make some comment about Roman Reigns and his cool finisher, the gore.
Of course.
And it took a hot second, then Mark was like, oh, man, that's hilarious. So come on. There's not much to that except for the fact we knew somebody was going to bite right away and have to come in swinging, like correct them like you're some kind of noob idiot.
Yeah.
That's called a spear, idiot.
Yeah.
And then you got a hold of me, and what was the very first comment you got?
So I put Roman Reigns' finisher, the gore, is pretty good. And then the first guy was like, it's a spear, not a gore.
Very first one.
And
Very
I said,
first one. What's the difference?
Davison said, tell him, what's the difference? And he said, spear uses his shoulder, and a gore uses the top of the head.
Like Ram Man from He-Man in the day.
And then I put, this is a spear. Gore uses the shoulder. My great-great-grandfather, Thaddeus Gore, invented the move. And it was Killian Dane with a running crossbody. And he said, nah. And then this other guy commented, he's like, whoosh. Like, whoosh.
Right over his head.
And then the guy commented on, he's like, terrifying that you think that, to the dude who was unbelievable.
The top of your head as a gore. I guess that means Stone Cold Steve Austin invented the gore that night when Owen Hart introduced the top of his head in the middle of the ring.
People are like, what a dumbass. It's not gore, it's a spear. And the same dude, whoosh. Gore and the spear, not the same. And then the same guy was saying whoosh, he says, looks at comments, come on guys, it's a joke. And then somebody posted the gif of Big E chowing on popcorn.
So goofy.
Why are you dudes even correcting him? He said it on purpose.
And now people can realize, it was a joke.
Shout out to Sithole.
As much as I can't stand trolls, I absolutely condone the trolling of trolls.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't get on that page
How else are you
very
gonna be on
often
that?
to troll at all. I never troll. I usually post our podcast there. But, you know...
This was just to prove it.
Oh, really? You do?
Nice job. Alienating everybody.
We have fans.
Yeah. You want to know something interesting, though? There are a couple of... Yeah, there
No.
are a couple people on that page that actually do listen to the
Oh, I'm not
podcast.
saying it in like that fashion. I'm just saying I find it humorous that you would have thrown it at like this cat that, I mean...
No, not necessarily.
Laugh. Just people laugh.
Right,
like,
that's what I'm
thing.
saying. And like somebody, and they got people all the time on that page that are just like, and I'm like, relax, enjoy things. Yeah. I can't get it. And I'm like,
I can't.
deep breath, relax, enjoy things. Like it doesn't have to be all bad news. And there's another jabroni who wears yellow glasses like he's Christian in 2001 WWE.
Oh, cool.
Who's got, and you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to even bring his name up, but he's the guy who, you know, he was talking about Lars Sullivan and Nyla Rose, and basically said that they should be treated like circus freaks.
Oh, dear.
And he was that dude I sent you the video of who was just like,
Oh, that was him?
I tried to reach out my big hand. You know, it's like,
Oh, to try to educate you wayward souls to get out of the wrestling game.
Oh, my God.
It is unhealthy, let's be honest. I mean,
yeah, that whole conversation was like, wow, that guy has some fucking issues.
Yeah.
Because he loved to bring up the fact that he was turned down for a job by WWE Creative because they knew he was too smart for them. I'm like, okay.
I'm pretty sure he was recording that from his grandmother's attic. I'm
I
not
swear you
positive.
were talking to Russo.
It wasn't even mom's basement. It was a step further.
He posted a video talking to Russo. And
don't
Russo,
talk to Russo.
Like Russo was just like, yes, bro. And it's like, okay, if Russo's agreeing with you, then you know you're a freaking tool bag.
I mean,
And he just went on this.
word on the street is that he was responsible for the Attitude Era. I'm just
He
saying.
was, 100%.
Absolutely he was.
Allegedly.
You know what? Speaking of that, let me back up for a hot second. So
Yeah.
we were saying Aleister Black and Murphy's been really good on Raw. It's not even an angle. They just want to keep fighting each other. And that reminds me of early ECW when that was when Guerrero and Malenko had their whole big series.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a feud, really. It was just a
two
competitive
good wrestlers.
Right. To see that happening on Raw really makes me happy, to be honest with you.
Well,
and this thing with Rollins, I'm a big Rollins fan. I mean, you would never know it by the amount of shit we talk, but when he's being written correctly and when he's a heel, I think he does really well. So he's got a stable going right now where he has the Authors of Pain.
Yeah.
And then now Buddy Murphy's going to be his second. That's got the wheels to be really fucking cool.
And I want to make that clear, too, because I feel like I talk a lot of shit about Rollins. I freaking marked out when he cashed in Money in the Bank.
Oh, that was one of my all-time.
Yeah.
That might be my all-time favorite WrestleMania moment. That was so good. Yeah.
And that's again. And what was the? And shout out to him too, because he freaking had one of the best sells I've ever seen. It was at WrestleMania. And this may have been that same WrestleMania.
Was it
he
the
went to go
RKO?
do the curb stomp, and Randy Orton lifted him like 12 feet in the air and then hit him with the freaking, oh my God.
Yeah, he stood up real fast and just launched him.
Oh, that was freaking sick. And I think that may have been the same WrestleMania.
It was.
Not
Yeah, it
mistaken.
was.
That was really good redirect. Yeah, that's like that perfect kind of misdirection.
And it was, so don't get me wrong, I love Seth Rollins. He was my personal favorite of the Shield members.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Cool. Me too.
It's just, again, it's the writing process and it's creative and it's like, what are they doing?
And
I probably wouldn't hate Baron Corbin's character if he was written properly.
Right. Yeah.
You know, again, these guys are performers and I guess wrestlers too, in a sense.
Rollins was being a douchebag when he and Ospreay got into it. I mean,
No.
and that would be an
definitely.
example of, he had been made the man for the last couple of years.
Right.
He was finally the man. And look at the last 10 years, what happens to the man in WWE? They become universally despised, except for the higher voices in the crowd. You know, and it didn't take but a year, and then Rollins was basically ruined. I don't know. I like seeing him as a heel. You know what's really funny on Raw? He was wearing this really tight leather jacket, and I was like, I think that's Becky's jacket.
If it fits, it fits.
I'm pretty sure he's wearing the man's coat.
A quick throw out there. I mentioned a couple months ago. Watch that Ring of Honor Tyler Black, Bryan Danielson, and Kenny Omega match if you haven't seen it. It's a solid triple threat. That is something that I would definitely recommend going back to.
That was limitless wrestling in the day. There was no, there was booking for who's going to win.
Yeah.
And they might give him a spot or two or a finish. But they really were like, in Ring of Honor was like, half-hour match, 20-hour match. Or, sorry, 20 hours, 20-minute
Dude,
match.
watch it.
20 hours, yeah.
If it's a good match, I'll watch it.
So that really was like, it wasn't the same as AEW, but I mean, in certain ways, it was strictly action driven, and people were just given the freedom to explore and play jazz in the ring. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of talked earlier about the Scurll thing and what Meltzer had written in the Wrestling Observer.
Oh yeah, what was that? I didn't even know what he said.
Well, that's basically what he said. According to the Wrestling Observer, before he had signed with Ring of Honor, he was going to be the leader of the Dark Order.
Oh, I got you.
But now that we've learned that he's got creative control and that, he's going to be obviously signing, he's already signed with them.
I like that idea.
He still gets to wrestle NWA as well. So he gets to do Japan, Ring of Honor, and NWA.
I hope that is the bridge that gaps all those together. I really do.
I really think that'd be dope as all get out if he was to actually make his whole roster of Ring of Honor the Dark Order. Like, come on. Like, we're here. We're going to take you. Like, just everyone.
45 people pouring in from everywhere. And
every entrance down to the ring descending upon you.
It's like that fight scene on top of the Oracle's apartment complex in the second Matrix.
Yeah. Oh, I would eat that up. Oh my God, yeah. I would lap that up. But yeah, that's the thing that I would love to see. I think that would be a very clever and very interesting approach to it.
I agree.
Side note, if everybody's interested, Impact also throw it out there. Pluto TV is a great app. No, that's not an advertisement for them, but it's more along the lines of if you download Pluto TV, you can watch AAA Wrestling 24/7 old matches. You can watch Impact Wrestling 24/7 old matches. Every now and again, they'll throw Ring of Honor matches on there. They've got a 24/7 Fear Factor channel, and they've got a 24/7 Unsolved Mysteries channel.
I remember you talking
Devastating.
about this.
Yes.
Crucial Squared Circle.
Yeah.
Not presented to you by Impact Wrestling.
Surprisingly enough.
But
yeah.
On a side note, joining us on a future episode of the Crucial Squared Circle.
Yeah.
A guy that I had the opportunity to work with on an independent level. I was able to I did an interview with him once as just hosting when they performed at the Warped Tour at the Pontiac Silverdome. But he's now in Impact Wrestling. He's a manager. He's a referee. John E. Bravo.
Oh, rock and roll.
I reached out to him. He's actually in Mexico right now. They're shooting down there. And he said once he gets back in the States, he's going to hang out with us and talk some freaking wrestling.
Hell yeah.
So Johnny's a super cool guy. If you don't know him, he is one of the most recognizable names along with Josh Raymond as far as independent wrestlers in Michigan are concerned.
Yeah.
Johnny's been wrestling for freaking years, and he's wrestled with, tons of people. It's insane.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, solid
cool.
dude.
Well, congrats, y'all.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So he'll be joining us when he gets back from Mexico. But it was something that we were talking about earlier. And, we were talking about Dave Meltzer and everything. He recently said something that, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. And I didn't like, I don't know. I was not a fan of what he said.
What do you say?
Well, he has his show. He has his podcast that he does as well. And he basically trashed Moxley and Omega's match that they had at the pay-per-view.
Oh, the hardcore match?
Yeah,
it's a little late.
And it was just something that was brought up,
Okay.
And he also trashed the Hell in the Cell 1998 match with Undertaker and Mick Foley.
Oh, did he?
And said that it was a shitty match.
Okay, he's having a bad day.
And somebody had reached out and said, I listened to your show. I listened to every show, but come on, Dave. If Moxley versus Omega was in WWE, no way would it have received 4.5 out of 10. And no, Taker Mankind was actually a good match. And Meltzer said, Undertaker Foley wasn't even a match. It was 2 stunts.
Kinda.
And
I don't have a problem with it. I agree.
What warrants a match?
Well,
it was
Ding and a ding?
Here's the problem.
A little bit of walking
Yeah.
around punching, but I mean, that's what it was.
Here's the problem I have with that statement, though. It's like, even though I know he's boys with Mick Foley, so I'm sure Mick Foley's not going to take too much concern over Meltzer having an opinion about something. They're friends. I don't like the fact that he considers it just 2 stunts, because I don't think that's very, I don't know. I just think it's kind of disrespectful to the fact that, well, one, there was only supposed to be 1 stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Him
they were
falling through the cell and almost dying was not a stunt. That was an accident. And because of that, it turned into, I guess, what you could consider a stunt. But after that, Mick Foley continued to wrestle, even though, like he said, it was the first time in his career he had been knocked out.
Well, yeah, what happened? Yeah, because he took a dive and it basically knocked him out. They were going to take him up to the locker room from the first one. Then he came down, got on top, and then he went through the cage again.
And it's less about the, I don't know. I feel like you have to give it credit for a good match. Not necessarily, because I get it. The highlight of the two was the first stunt and then the accident. But Mick Foley continued to wrestle. And yeah, it was just about as good as one can wrestle with a massive concussion. You know,
when your teeth sticking out of your nostril.
Yeah, exactly.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he kept going. They actually had a match which lasted a good, 7-8 minutes past that whole thing.
Though, we should do this and then reconvene the next time we do a podcast. Let's all watch it before we come back.
Yeah.
I do remember it. I've seen it a bunch of times. And I've seen it a bunch of times because I do enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And even saying that, I mean, we talk about the believability of kayfabe and protecting it or whatever. It was pretty hard to believe that Foley had any steam on any of those weird-looking punches after he had fallen through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was so clearly, barely conscious. And that's the thing. Like, I do worry, like, why, they shouldn't have let him keep wrestling. Like,
right.
We did admire his toughness, and that makes it cool. It was also stupid, and he's really lucky to be alive.
Very.
So, I mean, I don't know that it discredits it being a match just because it was a car crash,
Well, and that's what I was saying. It's not like
I'll rewatch
I'm not
it.
saying I hate Dave Meltzer or anything.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that I think it's just discrediting for the fact that Mick Foley kept going. Yeah, it wasn't going to be a fucking 5-star match after he almost died, but he still kept going. And on top of that, they fucking busted out like 20,000 thumbtacks.
Sure did.
On top of that shit. And again, he kept the match going. So, of course, it's not going to be a fucking 5-star match after he flies 16 feet off of a cell through a table, skips off a table, really, and lands on concrete floor.
That's 30 feet. But...
Yeah, exactly. And then almost dies falling through the thing, but continues the match. Like I said, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I wasn't pissed off. I was more like, I think it deserves a little bit more credit than it wasn't a match. It was 2 stunts.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
it wasn't just 2 stunts. Mick Foley kept going. The Undertaker kept going. Undertaker had a sprained ankle. He was wrestling on a sprained ankle.
I'm not laughing at The Undertaker, and I'm not laughing at that statement. I only chuckle just in comparison of the two.
Right. Mick Foley almost dead, and Undertaker needing to wrap the ankle up. A little.
And again,
But
I ain't fucking with you, Undertaker.
A credit to both of them for continuing that match, even though it shouldn't have continued. They both did wrestle, and to discredit the match and just say it was just 2 stunts. Well, yeah, that's what everybody remembers. But I've never forgotten that match, and I haven't forgotten the fact that Mick Foley did what he thought was right and continued the match and kept going. It's like
as the therapist of this group, I'm going to point out, Mark, that when you re-listen to this, in that last set of statements, at least 4 times and maybe even 5, you focused on his ability to continue crawling even once he was almost dead.
Yeah.
Now, that stick-to-itiveness and resilience, I'm wondering if that's a bit of a projection because you used to pop thumbtacks out of your penis.
Yes.
If you're not just really appreciating his toughness and making it all about his toughness, because he's clearly tough.
Yeah.
But, you didn't know about that? You missed. There's an art. Yeah, you can look back at it.
Yeah, no.
But
we don't need to go back and look at it.
I think we're projecting. I think you're overemphasizing his toughness. I have seen, like I said, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
He fell off the top, and his tooth was hanging out of his nose, and he punched him a few times. He fell on some thumbtacks. It is a match. Did he actually say it wasn't a match, or did he say it wasn't a good match?
He said Undertaker Foley wasn't even a match.
Well, that's a
2
stupid.
stunts.
That's a stupid statement.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's disrespectful to say it wasn't even a match.
Right.
You know what else is kind of funny about it, though? Did you ever hear about when Ric Flair and Mick Foley had gotten an old man fist fight backstage about 10 years ago?
No.
It was because in Ric Flair's book, for whatever reason, Flair went out of his way to disparage Foley and said, you can talk about his championships and his tours in Japan, et cetera, et cetera. To me, he'll never be anything but a glorified stuntman.
Oh.
And 10 years later, Foley sees him backstage, and I guess Flair came up and wanted to shake his hand and say, I didn't mean anything by it. And Foley's pretty defensive around that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That all he could do was throw himself off.
Fairly
That's bullshit.
reasonable statement.
So he refused to shake his hand. he refused to shake his hand, but I guess he said he was going to sign one of his own books, give it to Flair, who could sell it and give the money to charity. And then Flair tried to punch him, and then a bunch of people had to run over and pull a couple of old men away from each other.
Wonderful.
Who were trying to probably just like poke each other in the eye or something at that point.
That's kind of shitty of Flair to say, because Mick Foley was an excellent wrestler, apart from treating his body like crap.
Right.
That mind game match with Shawn Michaels, and I agree with him, is probably one of his best matches in terms of technical abilities. He did a lot of unique things in that match with Michaels.
Was that cool thing where he suplexed him outside the ring and smashed his legs on the steps?
Yes.
That was like the first time I'd ever seen that happen.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, God, that's nasty.
Yeah.
He had a way of creating those super violent situations.
And that was like one of the first, that was one of the earliest matches as in terms of ECW influence in WWE. I think Vader ended up coming out at the end of that match, and Sid came out there and put the hurt on him. It kind of ended in a schmoz, and with Michaels winning by DQ, and then Undertaker popped out of a casket, and all hell broke loose, and it was a chaotic match. It was insane. But again, when you watch that match, it's like, damn, like that was a well executed match by Mick Foley, and he even says too that he failed to live up to that match because he thoroughly enjoyed it. He felt like he did a great job wrestling. So again. It's very easy to cut out all the great things he did when you look at the big things that he did, of like taking 30 chair shots to the head at Royal Rumble.
Oh, God.
Putting a freaking...
My God.
I mean,
in front of his kid, no less.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
God.
what bugs me.
I watched the documentary on that again, like last week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
poor kids
God.
are bawling.
Yeah.
I think that's so irresponsible when they bring. I mean, like when AJ Styles had his kids, his wife and kids. Who was he feuding with? They're stalking his wife.
Yeah.
It was probably Bray Wyatt. I can't remember now.
No, but somebody, yeah.
And it's just like those poor little kids don't know. Like you can keep telling them this is fake. It's fake. It's fake. But when you see your dad bleeding, like that's pretty spooky for a kid. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, that cuts straight through. And that's the thing, is that kids can fucking take in and understand shit without even, verbal words being said to them or around them. It can just be the tone and the environment.
Yeah.
And you see a kid watching that, man, they don't even... Yeah, watch that documentary if you haven't seen it. That, I don't remember the name of it, but it's the Mick Foley one that talks about that night and goes through it as well. And... it's fucking...
I think it's Beyond the Mat, isn't it?
Is it Beyond the Mat?
It is in Beyond the Mat.
Okay.
Well, even like in the Dark Side of the Ring, I recently finally saw that series because I couldn't
Solid
find
series.
it.
That's good.
The episode about Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
How everything I've ever read about it seemed super vague, and this episode brought way more things to light than I had ever known about it.
It's way crazier, right?
It is. It's way crazier. There's way more to it, and also when you see Bruiser Brody's son, you can see how he's still held on to that fucking anger.
Yeah.
And how he wants Invader just destroyed.
Still haunted by that, man.
And it's insane to me that...
they were like, well, we kind of know he did it, but for some reason he was never prosecuted. I don't understand how that went.
And now now he is in Puerto Rico, and you can pay him to show up in his mask at kids' birthday parties.
Yeah, you can.
And I find that insane that he took the best brawler in wrestling history and he murdered him, and
now he's a party clown.
Yeah, now he's a party clown.
I mean, to be fair, the president of the United States is a party clown rapist. So I mean, it happens.
No joke.
Been known to happen.
Yeah.
So
if you're looking at hiring anybody for your birthday, you can hire the guy from The Last Dragon. Also, I can't remember his name.
Shonuff?
No, Shonuff, not Shonuff.
Is it Bruce Leroy?
Yeah, Bruce Leroy. You can hire Bruce Leroy for your birthday.
That's still cool.
Yep.
Low key, that's my all-time favorite movie.
And not a bad movie to watch
I've
at all.
probably seen it 40 times.
Hell yeah. I have watched it several times myself.
Shonuff.
Good company.
You know what? I want to skip back real quick because I know we're moving into our last couple topics. It is worth going back and watching NXT, both UK and US, from the last couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go back.
At that Blackpool event, there were two standout matches. Big Strong Boy, Tyler Bate.
Big Strong Boy!
That dude, to me, should go to AEW or somewhere else. He's so
God.
good.
Put a rocket on that
But he went
kid.
against that dude, Devlin. I can't remember his first name. Doesn't matter. He's Irish. He was trained by Finn Balor.
Really?
This Devlin guy. But they had a good 25-minute match that was just brutal with a good 10-minute closing sequence. That's
Big
worth
strong
seeing.
boy. Big
It's guys
strong
who've been
boy.
wrestling each
Big
other
strong
forever,
boy.
so they're
Big
willing to
strong
just
boy.
beat the
Big
crap out
strong
of each
boy.
other.
Big strong
And then there was
boy.
a 4-way tag team ladder match for their titles, and that was really good. Meanwhile, in NXT, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Classic has commenced for the year.
I'm sorry, what?
The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, baby.
Really?
Yeah.
At NXT.
Isn't that something? It's
Yeah,
the third,
that's a little
It's the
interesting.
third annual. It's still called the Dusty Rhodes. Now, we can look into it. I thought Cody said that was okay because NXT really is Dusty's baby. Don't get it sideways.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like,
I know. I absolutely know.
all right.
But it
It's
is
just
weird
really
because
weird.
it is
Yeah.
weird though because Dusty
Strange.
really did help birth NXT. It's weird. He really does kind of still belong there in a certain kind of a way. Not WWE, but his contributions to NXT are undeniable.
Yeah.
But
Yellow and black, baby.
two tag teams from this week that stand out. Alex Shelley, who's been mentioned here before when Josh was here talking about.
Alex Shelley was at the October event.
Is that what it was for
Independence
IPEP?
Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
He used to be in the Motor City Machine Guns for the longest and was back and forth from Japan. He was on NXT with Kushida. They reformed their tag team called the Time Splitters.
Yep.
And they're a two-time
Yeah.
JPW light heavy tag champs.
So all of that walkthrough, I just realized, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I saw the Heavy Machinery Cats over back in Chicago at a pay-per-view that Jake and I went to a while back. Hell yeah. Now
Yeah.
I know what we're talking about.
And there's rumor that Shelley is going to be coming back to Kalamazoo sometime this year.
that
I'd heard that
surprised
as
me.
well.
Wink,
And
wink, nudge, nudge. Come say hello.
this is the really funny one for me. There's another tag team who I hope wins the whole thing. I was shocked at how good their chemistry was, and I was just like mind blown at how violent some of their tag moves could be. It's Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle
That's
of
insane.
all people.
I'm all behind it.
So you got your bro and you got your bruiserweight, and Matt Riddle has dubbed them the broserweights.
Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
perfect.
The
So
Brodies.
perfect. That
I-
writes itself.
That does write itself. I love this man.
Which one?
Both of them.
The entity
fan.
that is them.
I'm Team Riddle. I'm Team Riddle all the way.
See, Pete
Yep.
Dunne, I'm all the way, but Matt Riddle is somebody that I've grown in affinity for, especially when he was like, that knee bar, bro, or arm bar, whatever it was that he said about
I'm making fun of Goldberg.
Yeah.
Dude, he would beat the living shit out of Goldberg.
Goldberg's
I do have
old
a
as
problem with
shit.
him.
Even if he wasn't, he was a football player.
Right.
He knows how to do a gore. He doesn't know
Yeah,
how to
that gore
fight.
is terrifying.
Right.
I do have a problem with Matt Riddle.
Riddle had an undefeated fight win streak in UFC.
Really?
He got canned because he wouldn't stop smoking weed.
Right.
He won 5 straight, and if he didn't win their Ultimate Fighter TV show, he came close. But he was a big ass deal.
Rock and
He's
roll.
super legit tough. Him and Kurt Angle would have had a tremendous match if they could
Ooh.
peak at the same time.
Yeah.
I do like that they're together, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. I do have a problem with him, though.
What?
Doesn't wear shoes.
God damn it! We've talked about this.
That's dangerous as shit. You're going to stub a toe.
He's MMA.
You're gonna
None of them
stub-
wear shoes.
You're going to stub a damn
Well,
toe.
you can go back to World
You're
Class
insulting
Championship
him.
Wrestling, the Von Erichs. They never wore shoes.
Well, the Von Erichs grow up with horses. That makes sense.
I think that was only Kevin Von Erich, though.
Oh, yeah, that's
To
true.
be fair, I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
It was
But,
just
you
one
know,
of them.
But then you go back, Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah. Oh God, here we go with the Island wrestlers again, though. Aside from Roman Reigns and the
Yeah,
Usos, like it's always been barefoot. Barefoot
yeah, we
with
talked about
pants.
this before.
We don't
Yeah.
have to go into it.
And they weren't even wearing shorts or ankle pants. They'd wear the pants down just to the knees too.
Yep.
That was another Island thing.
You're going to stub a damn toe, Matt. Put some shoes on.
I feel like you're insulting a man who's made it this far in his life and career and never stubbed a toe. And you're going to play mom and assume he's going to stub his toe
I'm
somewhere.
worried about his well-being.
Well, then let him do his thing. He's clearly got it figured out.
He seems to be doing okay.
I'm so pro Riddle that I won't even allow you to question. I won't even allow you to question his footwear.
His non-footwear.
Like, nope,
You know what?
we're not going there.
Also,
Ride
how
him
many
the
shoes
ladder.
does he go through? I mean, frankly, if
Those
he's going through a
flip-flops.
pair, those flip-flops, those can't be cheap. By the way, if anybody's interested, you can buy 120 pairs of socks on Amazon
Here we
right
go.
now for $115. That's an astounding deal. Less than 47 cents per sock.
Jeff Bezos thanks you for the free publicity.
Crucial Squared Circle, not brought to you by Amazon.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
So think about how funny it is because Riddle is legitimately violent in the ring. He
Yeah.
just does it with like a shrug and a smirk, right? So when he and Bate, who does not do much smirking and shrugging, Sometimes he does, but it's not that funny. It's more like he just rips somebody's nose off their face, and he's kind of like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Riddle's more kind of like actual comedy about it, but yeah, seeing them do their moves together, and occasionally seeing Riddle do the, well, what's up, bro? And getting the disapproving like scowl, like it's pretty funny.
It's a combination of the Odd Couple. I kind of get.
It's interesting. I'm excited to see where they take it. Again, it's just one of those random ass tag teams that shows up, and you're like, hey, that works.
Yeah.
Don't fuck that up.
Yeah. Honestly,
Please.
the great tag team that also works. Just throwing that out there. R-Truth and what's her dance moves?
Carmella. 7-second dance break.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Great tag team.
I love her.
Yeah.
And getting into intergender wrestling, we need to touch on probably the biggest thing that happened this entire week, which is just drawn.
Well, I mean, two huge things at the exact same time.
Yeah,
I've heard
exactly.
3, but I don't want to talk about one of them.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
I don't want to. I just want to know that we acknowledge that there is possibly another thing.
We're not going to talk about a select piece of audio that was apparently recorded in Japan.
Oh, that one.
That one we will not touch upon.
Yeah, let's not.
Neither here nor there. None of our business. We don't care.
We're not.
It's just,
this is not the Jim Cornette show.
We don't need to soil our
yeah
hands with that particular story.
It's we
well
don't.
Put.
Yeah.
But the fact that for the first time
ever,
well, I guess
outside of one intercontinental.
Okay, and that's where my opinion comes on this. For the second time in wrestling history, a woman has won a championship which is primarily held by the best men's wrestler in the business.
Well, has only ever been held by men up to this point, this particular belt.
Indeed. And it's the first time ever in wrestling history where a woman has won the world championship by a belt that's usually won by a man.
And this, I mean, like in the major recognized companies. Maybe it's happening in indie somewhere, but like for the major companies.
Yeah, for the major companies. Now this is something that's just drawn a ton of and again, being on that wrestling fans page, that's why I really hate it, because the more stories come out about, Tessa Blanchard winning the World Heavyweight Championship and Lars Sullivan's past coming out, it's depressing to see just how sexist and homophobic wrestling fans are still, and how uncomfortable they are with themselves, and how they just have nothing but shitty things to say.
Shocking.
And, one of the people that's kind of touched on that recently was Booker T, and we talked about it earlier, where he called it the worst decision in the history of wrestling.
He said, what he said earlier? Yeah, he said it all right. And don't forget, just a couple of weeks ago, Sandman was in the hot seat for doing almost the exact same thing. Remember, he was backstage.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a women's wrestling event, it was an Impact event, but it had women main eventing, and he felt the need to tell the women right there in a full locker room, you guys can't main event. That's stupid. Like, there's men in this room. How do you think that's going to look? And so now Booker has effectively gone ahead and said the exact same. Like, having a woman win the title from a man, every other man who walks out now, you got to question their toughness. You got to question this.
Doesn't make any sense.
It was very obviously, let's just try to be like as super honest, even if it feels weird. Let's be really honest and say a couple things right up front. If statistically speaking, I told you to take, any 25-year-old male from a college campus and to grab a 25-year-old female from a college campus, put them in a ring and say, have them fist fight, who's going to win? I think we're all probably going to say, notwithstanding people having amazing training or CrossFit or this or that.
Yeah.
Is it sexist to say the guy's probably going to win? I mean, there is biology saying size, strength, et cetera, right? Like, those things do exist.
Yeah.
The thing that bugs me, though, is like Rey Mysterio happens to be a guy, but he's like 5'4" and maybe 160 pounds. That's about Tessa Blanchard size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Ray is celebrated for being, and so is now Daniel Bryan, the underdog, the little scrappy guy who can overcome.
Adam Cole.
The only difference, that 5-year-old flying into the crowd, the only difference is Tessa's a woman.
Right.
And there's the thing. She's been booked, though, as a monster in that Fed for the last year or so.
Yeah.
And they've done a good job, and everybody who watches Impact is all about it. That's the important detail here.
Yeah, that's the important. Yeah.
People are looking from the outside and going, "Oh, that's so stupid." Well, A, you're not doing any kind of like critical critique here. you're just showing that you don't believe it's ever going to be a possibility, which is stupid. So anyway, it bums me out that Booker T continues to.
And that's, again, and it's just the collective mindset of wrestling fans everywhere. And I'm like, have we forgotten that China won the Intercontinental title and how awesome of an Intercontinental champion she was?
Well, can I point something out?
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that at least part of that has to do with the fact that there were also a lot of jokes about China doing steroids.
Oh, yeah.
And they made some of those Nicole Bass type jokes about China being a man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be more acceptable for those kinds of people to accept China winning a belt because they already see her in a certain kind of a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, especially back then, that's what people did as well. People have always been critical. They've always been sexist like that. They've always, had that issue with themselves. But it just in general, I look at it as China pulled off the Intercontinental Championship. Yep. She proved herself. She proved that she could compete with the men. And the one thing from Booker T's whole thing that, not necessarily that I agreed with, but I could understand in a sense where it's like a man beating up on a woman.
Like it looks like domestic violence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that point.
And, that's the one thing where I was like, okay, I could get that. But again, we're talking about professional wrestling.
These are all trained athletes. That's the thing. I don't know, man. It just kind of goes back for me, like, Booker's always been one of my favorite guys. But when he feels the need to jump in when that guy was leaving NXT recently who was accusing them of being really racist with that kind of, ridiculous vaudevillian T-shirt design.
Yeah.
It looked like a big smiley face over blackface. Booker T was sure to let everybody know that that's not racist because he says so, right?
Right.
He's also always the one to come out and say, like, well, I've been here all this time, everything's gravy. The only people who say that are the ones who are currently employed. Everybody else who's left or been made to leave says that was an absolutely awful experience. So, like, I don't know. I just feel like most of the stuff he says is either unexamined, just rooted in his age and maleness, or it's rooted in him being a company guy. And either way, he's detached from social reality of 2020 because of both of those.
And again, like he said, he's like, how is anybody now? In his argument, he was saying, now she goes back, and if she loses to any of the women in that federation, any of the whoever beats her, that woman should be able to beat any man. And I'm like, okay, now you're reading too far into it. You're getting too
so here's some Booker logic because he doesn't bother to examine these things. David Arquette held the
that was
WCW
the same
title.
damn road I was going down.
So because he was a world champion, that means technically speaking, he could probably beat Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, Sting,
and Booker T. Because again, five-time championship over
Andre
here.
the Giant.
Because you're putting them on the same parallel.
They just pick and choose these little stupid, simplistic arguments to make their points because nobody around them is willing or able to go, yeah, but there's 15 or 20 examples of something happening the exact same way that you don't have a problem with. So let's go ahead and just admit that, yeah.
Vince Russo winning the title. Like,
right.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's what bugs me about the whole thing is that him saying that's the worst thing ever in wrestling. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that company that you used to work for came up with at least a dozen things that were that are going against what you're saying right now. Because I just don't look at, and when he sits there and says, I don't think this is what women empowerment is all about. And I'm like, this is literally...
You're a man.
We're trying to... This is literally them trying to even the playing field to say, hey, women have the ability to be top of the fucking food chain in these companies. They've proven it over and over and over again. And consistently, people want to push them down. And it's like you said, Davison, punching down.
Dude, I was socialized. This is a weird thing that I never almost talk about with people, but it is interesting. I was socialized as a white male in this country. So all the same rules and social rules that apply, all the same logic and things that the society actually programs you to think and feel. Like, that was me, too.
Yeah.
And I had to undo as much as possible when I came out, and I've been working on that very diligently to try to undo. And it's been a weird process to let go of maleness. And it's been an interesting one because it's happened socially first. And then my social experience has turned into cognitive and emotional change. it has been a thing where I've walked into business rooms and had meetings where 3 years earlier I was the one to listen to. And then this time I'd come in and I would be either ignored or somebody would take my idea and rephrase it. That's that cliche stuff you hear all the time about women saying happens. I'm in that perspective where I got to experience it 3 years after being around all the people who don't even know it exists. So when I hear somebody like Booker T say, you know, I'm a man and I'm going to tell you what woman empowerment's about, that's just like white people telling black people it's racist and not. And it's about conservative male politicians deciding who can get abortions and not. Like, if it doesn't affect you, get the fuck out of here. Like, who cares about your opinion? And Booker's a great wrestling historian, and he knows, and he's got a lot of clout. Like, he's a wrestling guy. You're a dude, and you're not from 2020. So shut up.
We're coming for you.
God.
I'm just over it, man.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yeah, I didn't even give any attention to his opinion. When y'all had mentioned that he had said something, I was like, oh, what? And then you told me. And yeah, now I'm shocked about it. But again, or I'm surprised about hearing that because I would have hoped for other.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, I'm
exactly.
a Booker fan. I'm just like becoming less and less of a fan every time he opens his mouth.
Again, and it does, you know, it's a personal choice. Why would you bother talking about something that you know the entire country is already shitting on? You're a person who has, like you said, he's got some clout. Why would you, someone who has, you know, nothing to lose, and you have all these people who listen to you, why would you go out of your way to, again, be just another person to shit on that?
Yeah.
Because everyone's gonna listen to that. Like,
you're gonna postpone or continue.
So.
Yeah, you're continuing the narrative.
And it's like, you don't need to say that. Just shut your mouth. You don't talk about it.
You know what's an interesting thing to consider, though, when people are speaking out of turn, is to ask yourself, why aren't I hearing more people from that person's position who are way out of their lane? Why am I not hearing more people complain? Like, why is that person so fervently arguing this point that has nothing to do with them?
Yeah.
That's how you know that this person's projecting somewhat. So it's not every male wrestler coming out and shitting on it. It's a small handful of guys who feel the need to get real vocal about it.
Yeah.
And that tells me that those are your guys who are the most deeply sexist. Like, why else would you feel the need to even do it? Like you said.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect you. It's not going to raise your clout any or make anything positive happen in your life.
Yeah.
It must just be because you have a deeply held conviction.
I don't know. At first he said it was the dumbest thing they've ever done in that federation, and then he flat out said it was the dumbest decision ever made in wrestling, which, I'm sorry, the dumbest decision ever made in wrestling is David Arquette winning a world title. A title that dates back to the early 1900s, before wrestling was kayfabe, predetermined, you know, because for those who don't know...
Just shut up, okay? Your mouth is throwing out words that you don't know.
Early 1900s is when wrestling began, competition.
I'm not talking about the history and the timing. I'm talking about this whole idea of what you just said.
Well,
I'm not saying
there's matches that went on like 15 hours.
Yeah.
Like long, like people were like, we got to leave. Y'all can stay and wrestle.
I paid my money.
We're going to tip out here. You know, that belt dated back to the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 90 some years, and an actor who has 3 weeks, 8 weeks on the set wrestling experience.
What was the name of that movie?
Set.
Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble.
And winning that title, and just, that was a joke. That was like, literally, that was like, well.
Yeah, and
you can toss that one in the trash because,
all of the lineage that had held. Yeah, speaking of David Arquette, I would love to hang out and interview him at some point in time, because even though I shit on and we talk shit about the whole situation with him in WCW, he had a match a couple months ago that was pretty damn wicked, where I think he was almost like, killed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, now he's a wrestler.
Now he's a wrestler. Yeah.
It's nothing against him. It's where Vince Russo's mind was at back then,
right.
And WCW collectively. But that was just a goddamn horrible decision.
Remember when we were joking about the weird B-list and C-list celebrities that WCW was so into?
Yeah,
like Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman and Jay Leno. Arquette was the one they chose as their champion. Like, WWE never even made Mike Tyson their champion.
Right.
But WCW thought it was a really cool idea to give it to Arquette. It's just like, man, you take people who are trying to invent. It's just like I've said about NXT. It's changing now, but for the longest, I was like, they have their training facility, and the person in charge of it for the longest was Bill DeMott.
my God.
Bill DeMott he was also General Huge Erection. Remember that?
Oh my.
God.
He was General Erection. Huge Erection.
Erection.
Yeah, that's WCW writing for you.
WCW.
But so he was one of the head trainers in NXT, and they're trying to invent main event stars. And I'm just always like, how are you going to grab a handful of mid-card people, lower mid-card people at that, and have them train your stars of the future? Like, how are they going to teach charisma?
Right.
How are they going to tell you what takes you to the top?
I'm going to learn from the Hurricane.
You know what I mean? Like, I liked Head in ECW.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Al Snow.
Al Snow.
Al Snow, yeah.
Fucking
Al
right.
Snow's
Yeah.
Al Snow bought and runs Ohio Valley Wrestling Training thing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
How close to the main event did Al Snow ever get? Like in ECW, he came close.
Right.
But like, I don't trust Al Snow to pump out the next
But
Rock. I'm sorry.
but it wasn't until ECW that he actually had a gimmick.
That was so
until
fun,
then,
too.
he was I wouldn't say a jobber. He was a good worker, but he was never, there was nothing to him. He was Leif Cassidy.
He played some kind of masked
my.
character in WWE for a minute. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Like some kind of weird ninja type character?
Yeah. I can't, but until,
Super
until they,
Jabbo number 3 or something?
yeah, but until they came up with that head gimmick, there was nothing.
What does everybody want?
Yeah, and then he took it to WWE, and then he lost Head, and then he got Pepper, and then fucking Boss Man turned Pepper into a freaking hamburger helper casserole, and
And then they put a
hungry,
bunch of
just-
dogs in a big cage and had the worst match in the history of wrestling.
thank
whoa,
you.
whoa.
then the Big Show jumped on a casket and got dragged through a funeral by the
Oh
Big
my
Boss
God, I
Man.
remember that.
So yeah,
Wrestling.
wrestling. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, no, like you said, Davison, it never got to main. What's Huge Erection gonna say? Oh, hey, one day you might be good and lose to somebody in their first
I
match.
guarantee you that's why he was such a bully down there, just like Buddy Lee Parker was a huge bully at the power plant. These are douches who never got over fully.
Yeah.
And now they're in charge.
Now I got the power.
You better believe they're like, I couldn't do it. You're not going to do it, you little slime bag. Let me ruin your life so I
Yeah,
can feel like
exactly.
I'm not an impotent piece of shit.
I'm not going to say anyone's name, but tough enough. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, though, this is pretty funny. I keep telling you how funny it is to find Luke Gallows doing his non-Luke Gallows stuff online.
Yeah.
Sex Ferguson. You find any like little 90-second clip of Sex Ferguson on YouTube, and you will laugh for 89 seconds in a row. I promise you.
All right.
God damn
That's
it.
my homework for
I just
tonight.
distracted myself. I'm thinking now about Luke Gallows as Sex Ferguson. I don't know. Whatever. Skip me. I forgot what I was going to say.
That's great.
No worries.
So the main thing we were discussing a little bit earlier, and this isn't just a topic to come in out of nowhere. I think there's some
Like an RKO.
Yeah, I think there's just a couple of personal feelings that we have about the state of wrestling in 2020 and things that we would like to see, and wrestlers that not only that we'd like to see jump ship necessarily, but just even come over to do cross branding, to come from one promotion into another promotion. And like we were talking about earlier, how now Marty Scurll is head of creative and part of Ring of Honor, and he's also got that connection to Japan. He's also got that connection to NWA. He can still work in both of those territories. This may be what they need to reach out into All Elite Wrestling, which could lead into some extremely creative and exciting times in terms of wrestling. This could ultimately end up being, and I mean, it already is, but the most exciting time in wrestling in the last 20 years.
This would be truly revolutionary. Like WWE way back, they may have still been even like WWF, but they used to have a little bit of an exchange. The same way Ric Flair used to go around the world with the NWA title.
Exactly.
Every once in a while.
Yep.
They would have like Antonio Inoki, I think it was. He would
Yeah.
come over occasionally, and they'd send a couple WWE guys over to Japan, but that
Yeah.
was like 40 years ago or something.
When they acknowledged other promotions existed.
Yeah. Oh, and think about how exciting it was when Scott Hall very first walked through that crowd and Zbyszko blew the call.
Yeah.
That was us going, oh my God, they're doing a cross-promotional thing. That's why
Right.
it was so cool at first, right?
Unless you were at, it was I had no idea what the hell was going on. Because it was before the internet, and it was, the internet was very infantile.
Right.
And
it still is.
Yeah.
Very big baby.
Yeah, well said. And it was, you had no idea what the hell was happening. There was rumor mills, and that was,
You just when you see something you've never seen before, it's exciting because neurologically, like, your brain can't make sense of it. So you have to guess. Like, your brain goes through this weird process. It finds the closest thing in your head, like, that's what's happening. And because we hadn't seen anything to that degree happening, all of us assumed, like, wow, this absolutely has to be some weird agreement they finally made. They're going to actually go to war on the air and trade people.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of a mind blower. So the idea of that happening today across all these different federations, not just one to the other, but of possibly stacking, like you said, Ring of Honor and NJPW and NWA. And then there's also kind of an open revolving door of independent talent, like a Zack Sabre Jr., for example.
Oh, yeah.
Who's, he's like the British world champion. He comes and goes out of Japan, and he does a whole lot of UK type wrestling.
Yeah.
He could very easily be one of those guys that shows up, even though he's just tangential to those.
Dude's a fucking octopus. Just throwing that out there.
Tremendous.
Crazy. I mean, string bean Jones over here, but will wrap around you like an octopus. No hesitations. We'll put you in a submission that makes you cry mama.
It's easier to get a spaghetti noodle around your neck than a fire hose.
Honest to God.
Just saying. Well, maybe not. There's length and all that. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know what I'm saying, G.
I'm picking up what you're laying
Don't
down.
make it a thing, okay? Just chill out.
Don't be weird about it. But there is the potential of some major crossovers, and I think there's some really cool crossovers that I would like to see, and I think there are some talent that I personally feel should just jump ship completely.
I got a whole list over here I was putting
Yeah,
together.
I'm right now putting together a list too.
Well,
Yeah.
if you want to start firing them off, because I'm interested to see what you two are thinking and where your minds are at on this.
Okay, I'm going to do this way.
Yeah.
I've actually got mine sectioned. So I've got my people I would send to NXT and where they're from. People I would send to AEW where they're from. Not surprisingly, I don't want to wish anybody having to go to the main rosters. So I didn't send anybody
I didn't either.
to either Raw or SmackDown.
You're a good lady.
It's just a fucking
got a heart of valor.
It's just a death sentence. So, okay, so for people I want to see go to NXT, we've all talked about one of the low points for me of AEW. It's not that they don't have really talented women wrestlers, because they do.
Yeah.
They're just kind of trying to figure out right now how to package it, I think. I would think it would be really cool if Nyla Rose went to NXT.
Ooh.
Now, she's a beast. She's a worker.
like her.
I love her. They have a tremendous women's division.
Yeah.
In NXT, and we don't need to harp on this detail. Let's keep it to the in-ring stuff. But I will say, the concerns I voiced a couple weeks back about somebody on a live commentary just accidentally having a slip-up foible and using the wrong pronouns for Nyla.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would infinitely more expect that to occur under the WWE umbrella than under AEW. So that would give me some pause. But think about some of the matches, and her versus Io Shirai.
Oh, yeah.
Her versus
yeah.
Bianca. Her versus Candice.
Yep.
Like, they're all fantastic.
Yeah.
I would like, and keeping with that, I think especially now with all this crap about Tessa whipping up the frenzy, not only the title, but also all that racist stuff that she was being accused of.
Yeah.
Tessa going to NXT at some point and being in that big women's division.
Yeah.
I don't know how her career's going to plan out now, but just like the big names around the world, I want to see them go against the best. Right now, I think that's the NXT women's division. Finally, my last person and the only man I would want to see switch in there. And I'm a little surprised I said it. I guess maybe because I think there are some people that even Vince can't mess up. And we're hoping Vince leaves to go to the football thing soon. Will Ospreay to NXT.
Yeah.
I know.
It's pretty wild.
Well, I'm watching T because
Yeah, I'm digesting the Will Ospreay showing up at NXT.
so Ospreay has wrestled just about everybody we love. He's had matches with Riddle. He's had matches. He's from England. He does Japan now, but he's from the UK originally. He's wrestled Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
He's wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. a ton. He's wrestled almost everybody in the Undisputed Era.
And that Rey Mysterio match that I keep harping on. That was a wicked match.
He doesn't have bad matches.
And Walter. God.
So, obviously he would have limitless matches in AEW, but I'm just thinking somebody of his talent, I want to see him reach Cena status and keep doing what he's doing.
I think that would keep raising the bar. I can agree with that. I think that would be a cool way to consistently move that yardstick for the team the folks that are already established there.
Yeah.
Because you'd be the phrase that I want to bring up and that I keep thinking on is the idea of steel sharpens steel. And I think that that's something that's missing with WWE as a whole because they keep competing against themselves. As I said earlier in the evening, he keeps believing that if you put somebody of your own roster and then you've set the outcome, then that's going to then in turn make a better product. But that's not going to be directly this case.
Right.
If you were to take Ospreay and throw him in NXT, the first person I'd want him to go, I want him to first call out Seth Rollins, but take 3 years to get there.
I was thinking that's the match I want to see
Yeah.
as well. And I think Rollins would have a tremendous match with him.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely, he would.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a matter of what does Ospreay see in himself as a professional wrestler.
I think he realizes how good he is. He knows how good he is.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I don't think he'll ever, if he ever comes to America, it would be some of these pop-ins to Ring of Honor, AEW. I don't think he ever sets foot in WWE.
No, he
And
won't.
that's the thing. I think it speaks less about him as a person and more about how he views wrestling.
It's got nothing to
and
do
how
with
he
him being good
respects it.
enough.
Right.
And I don't think he looks at himself as an entertainer. He looks at himself as a wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what sets WWE apart from every other brand right now is they're purely entertainment with wrestling.
Superstars.
Superstars. Gosh.
Exactly. And I don't think Ospreay would ever...
Oh, no.
I don't think he would ever do that.
No. Definitely not.
I got a list.
Go for it.
Okay, so first and foremost, tied to your Tessa comment, I want her to take down Becky and Charlotte.
Ah, see?
Yeah, but I want it to be on a night-by-night basis. Like, I want her to show up on Monday, and I want her to show up on Friday, and I want her to walk with 3 belts. Tessa 3 times. Like, straight truth, that would be fan-fucking-tastic.
Triple
Pardon
T.
the language. Yes. That would be awesome. At first, I was like, yeah, you know what? Kick Brock Lesnar's ass just to spit in Booker T's face. But you know what?
Yep.
Let's start with knocking out the division and then conquer from there.
How about that?
Tenille Dashwood, Emma. My God. I've loved her, just how she walks.
Yeah.
Genuinely, just throwing out moves and walking. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's over at Impact and doing her thing over there and left WWE and NXT. I think that would be fun to see her jump over to New Japan. I think that would be fun to see her take that level of charisma and her showmanship across the pond. I think that'd be fun.
Wait, does NJPW have women's wrestling, though? I mean, there's Japanese women's wrestling, but I'm trying to remember. Like at Wrestle Kingdom, I'm thinking the big events.
The big events,
I can't think of any women's
No, there weren't
stuff.
any in the big event. And I think that that's a disservice, but also in the vein of I think that they have them on during the pay-per-views or outside other shows outside of that. I've seen a couple, but I've only seen them in like passing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be because also we were talking about this a couple weeks ago that they were looking at expanding it when they bought out that promotion that WWE was going to be buying out at one point in time.
That was a women's fed, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was a women's fed. So throw Tenille over there, let her run her ramp itself all over the place. I really like how she walks.
It's a good walk.
Moose. Yeah, straight truth, no lie. I like Moose. Watched Moose out at what do you call it? I saw Moose at a show in Ohio. No, in Indiana. I think it's Revolution Pro Wrestling or something along those lines. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I think it's RPW or something like that.
Okay.
Cool cats, great guys. Solid promotion. It was fun. It was great. You sat in the front row. You smelt the wrestling. I will say that Moose showed up. He's from Impact. I would love to see him go over to NXT. I would like Moose to go against our favorite boy, Keith Lee. I think that would be a lot of fun to be watching Moose and Keith Lee and also seeing him do Moose with the crew. I'm all about that. Get him a stable.
I know what Moose looks like. I assumed he was kind of like a high-impact brawler type. Is that?
He almost looks like Terry Crews. Almost.
Is he ripped like that? I thought he was kind of on the like big dude, but kind of on the soft side.
Doesn't he kind of look like Terry Crews?
Yeah, he does look kind of like Terry Crews.
How big is he? How tall is he?
I would say he's a Lars Sullivan size.
Oh.
6'5", 295 pounds. Let's just say that.
I just left Team Moose.
We're
Moose.
next song.
That's all it took.
The last three I've got. commentary-wise, I went that direction for a moment because I know we talked about it last week.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I want Mauro Ranallo over at AEW.
Yes.
I would love for him, Tony, and JR to chop that fucking shit up.
Wait, you want to get rid of Excalibur?
I want him to be on the mic out walking around with folks. I want him engaging the teams. I want him engaging the staff. And then tag team between him and Tony every now and again because I do like seeing Tony walking around with his drunk earring ass. I like him.
I will say to start my list off, I completely agree with you, T. And I think that would be a huge addition, especially considering AEW is about to add a second show. I think that would be a crucial addition.
Imagine hearing that.
Even if you added him and replaced him with Excalibur, what if you took Joey Janela and put him on commentary more than just like
Joey Janela
Taz
is
is
so
all elite.
funny. Wasn't his promo good from Dynamite this week?
Oh yeah,
Yes, it was.
Remember he had that little and his intensity's good. I know I talked about it way back. The fact that Cornette was really crapping on him and calling him jelly and all that jazz. You can tell everything Cornette said he took to heart. His talking is better. His body's looking like you can tell he works out now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that his size is always going to hurt him in wrestling. It's going to prevent some of the heights he can get to.
Yeah.
But I do see him as really unique. Like he doesn't try to wrestle like other people. He doesn't try to.
No, he doesn't.
You know, I don't know. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan too. I'm a very big fan as well. Yeah, Mauro Ranallo jumping over to AEW would be fantastic.
Yeah.
If they're to start a second show and if they were to keep the same three cats on mic that they've got for Dynamite right now, but then they were to create another show and add more folks, then I would say Mauro Ranallo. They already just nabbed Taz recently. Hashtag just found out.
That's huge.
I love Taz.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, if you have somebody rolling on and off the mic every now and again, Joey Janela or whoever else you grab from the back.
Chuck Taylor is
Chuck Taylor.
so funny.
Because what's his Rocky Raccoon or whoever you were talking about the other night?
Rocky Romero.
Yeah, Rocky Romero. Fantastic guy. Great on the mic. I will tell you, him bouncing from the night one to then actually in front of everybody for night two.
Oh, did he
that was
wrestle?
stellar. Yeah, he was not wrestling a lot, but I mean, for what's it called? For New Japan Pro Wrestling, he did one match, but he was out for the night.
But it was night 2 of Kingdom.
Night 2 of Kingdom, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was walking out as an attaché.
Oh, I got you.
The other two that I'll throw out there real quick, and I don't know what we're doing. Yeah.
I got more for other feds. I was just doing my 2 NXT list.
Oh,
first.
I've got. Do you want me to stop? I can stop.
I mean,
I'm not going to stop.
It's up to y'all.
I'm going to keep going. The two from different promotions to go to one. I want Jay Lethal coming over from Impact.
Yeah.
To join up with Austin Creed, who you may know as Xavier Woods, to go to AEW to be a tag team group to challenge the Young Bucks, to challenge Kenny Omega, to challenge all these other folks. That would be dope, and that would be fun. And Jay Lethal on the mic is straight up hot fire.
Always been a huge fan of Jay Lethal.
Hot
Especially when
fire.
he was Black Machismo.
Yes.
When he was doing the Ric Flair bit.
Now that I know how much you guys love him, you absolutely need to go back and do all your old school Ring of Honor work. That's where he started.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's
young, like 18, 19 years old. He was called Hydro way back when. He was in this raving gimmick called Special K. Like, these guys would come out to rave music, like, basically on ketamine. And he was called Hydro, and then he just kind of stuck with the company and got better and became Jay Lethal.
Solid cat. I believe that he's out on injury right now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
similarly to Austin Creed, also known as Apollo Crews, also known as Xavier Woods. Yeah, I know I lied. It's not Apollo Creed. All right, last cat. This is a rumor that I heard. This is something that I'm intrigued by.
Okay.
But I want him to show up on main roster on either Raw or SmackDown. David Benoit. I've heard through the grapevine that he's going to be going by his father's name.
Have you seen his interview, though?
No. This is something that Davison and I were kind of talking about earlier.
Really? What happened with that?
Were we talking about this privately or on our group text?
I think it was on the group text.
I think so. It was too.
I might have missed it.
It's nothing against David Benoit because, when Davison was like, I'm watching that interview, and I was like, oh, I got to check that out. And I listened to it.
Was it the Chris Van Vliet one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I heard about them doing an interview, but I didn't see it yet.
Yep.
I just heard through the grapevine that there was talk of him jumping into the ring, and I'm like, you know what? Hey, yo.
He's been at AEW, all the shows. Like, he's been at both pay-per-views. He actually got banned from WWE for a minute because he was going to
For
AEW.
going to
Yeah, I
those
do
shows.
remember that. And he's
But-
friends with Natalia and all them too.
But you know
Yeah.
they've kind of moved past that, and they're back at square one and everything. But like he works at an oil rig thing in like Montreal, and he makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And he has a really good career doing that.
Oh, well,
But,
never mind.
like,
Stay there. Do your
But
thing.
watching the interview today, it looks like, and Davison can touch on this because she made a couple of good points through text too. There's just a natural charisma that I think people, especially if you're going to get into WWE, first and foremost, you can't just be a good wrestler. You have to be an entertainer,
Yeah.
and there's charisma that comes with that.
Yep.
And there's also a knowledge of the industry and of the business. And although he grew up watching wrestling and it was a huge part of his life, the moment his dad died, he blocked out everything wrestling.
Gotcha.
And Davison, you brought up a good point too when he was asked about his favorite match.
Oh, God. Well, that's the thing. And just to touch on what you were saying, when we say charisma, people in the WWE have always tried to make it this mystical thing, the it factor, the indescribable it factor. It's not that indescribable. You have to be like ultra, ultra charming to where everybody wants to listen to what you have to say. You have to be at or above like traditional attractiveness levels. You got to be pretty good as a worker. Like that seems to kind of be what the it factor consists of. This guy is quite obviously Chris Benoit's son. Like there's no mistaking that face. You know what I mean?
You can't hide that.
But I don't know what his mom, like, it's like he got the really identifiable parts of Chris Benoit, but then it's like, he's just such a normal, I would never, even if he gained 30 pounds of muscle, even if he became really talented or athletic, he's just not, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen for him. He doesn't have the face. He doesn't have the look. I don't know. There's something about him.
It's actually really funny. So like, there's an episode of South Park, and it's one of the earlier seasons, and it's on Jesus and Friends. I don't know how acquainted you are with the show. But
I know
Jesus
Jesus.
brings out Bob Denver, who played Gilligan on Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
and he
totally.
brings him out, and he's like, so, how are you, Bob Denver? Good. What you been up to? Not much.
That is, you're right. It
And
was
that's
one,
very much like where it was like,
painful.
ugh.
Really?
So like he's
Yeah,
Gilligan, and it's like holy shit. But then you get him there, and you're like, oh wow, he's kind of a turd sandwich.
That's
David
It's
unfortunate.
nothing
Benoit.
personal. It's just that he's just kind of like, yeah. And at first I was like, hey, maybe we should call him and get on the show. And then I watched the
No.
interview,
No,
and I
no.
was like, I think we've seen all that Snake's Bend has to offer.
You know what though? He reached out to Valit and said he wanted to do the interview, and that was a big deal because
Yeah.
he's not been one to talk about any of this stuff, and it was just so obvious that he's never ever done anything entertainment wise. I don't think he's probably ever been on a stage for a school play. I don't think he's ever done karaoke.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
it was
Right,
just
he
painfully
Very
awkward.
uncomfortable. Just
Like-
super awkward, the whole thing. And it was like this.
For Valit to have to ask as many questions as he did, like, so how's work? Yeah, it's all right.
What do you
Oh
do?
God.
I put
Really?
these-
Okay.
I
Well,
put these things in the ground and they go deep. Wow, that's awesome.
Wow.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we'll take that back. I take that back. I'm going back to Marwin Allo. He should be great.
It's okay. And, hey, you know what? You're not wrong for bringing, because the idea of that is special.
It's a great
The
idea.
idea of it is special, but
Well, let me give cause to reason why. And my motivation and desire behind it is not because I like the idea of a Benoit. I like the idea of a Benoit being there in the respect of him being able to lift the cloud that his father had left upon
indeed.
the industry and also on his family's name.
Yeah.
And my intention behind that is to allow for him to take on that crown and then move it forward. If he can't, from what I've heard, he can't hold a microphone.
He can't.
So
No.
It's not gonna happen.
So
It's
yeah,
just,
no.
it's rough. It's unfortunate too, because you do want that. You do
Yeah.
want that. And, and the guy was even trying to tell him, like, maybe you're the way that can be lifted. Like because he asked his, do you think your dad will ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame? And he's like, maybe in like 30, 40 years. And he's
I
like,
don't
well,
think he
maybe
will
not
be.
that far. He's like, maybe that all depends on what you do with your career. And he's like,
No.
yeah, maybe.
No.
And he wasn't feeling it. He was feeling
Nope.
zero pieces of that.
Yeah.
So, if he really wanted it, he would have it.
Yeah.
And didn't he?
To touch on what you were saying, I skipped that detail.
Yeah.
So Fleet was like, "Oh, so you're a big wrestling fan. So what would you say has been your favorite match from maybe the last 10 years or so?" He goes, Let me think about that. Probably, like Natalia versus, I don't remember, man.
Oh God.
And that's not even like exaggerating.
Right. That's kind
almost
of
exactly what happened. Like, okay, well,
all right, Marvin
nice
Hollow,
talking
next
to you.
on AEW. That is my last pick for the evening.
Yes.
Erase the last 15 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead. I got a whole slew of 2 AEW people, but go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's my whole list.
The biggest thing for me right now when I'm looking at All Elite, well, let me start off with NXT. The big crossover I want to see freaking Toni Storm come over to America. Right now she's in NXT UK.
Yeah.
I really like Toni Storm.
Is she related to Lance Storm?
Negative.
No, she's from Australia, I think.
Yeah, she's New Zealand, Australia. Yeah. But she's I've always liked Toni Storm ever since she came out in NXT UK. I'd really like to see her come over, maybe even tip into the main roster eventually.
Yeah.
Another and again, it's odd because I'm not a main roster guy because we know kind of where it leads, but
Yep.
I really, because I feel like he deserves it. I really would, if they're going to bring Keith Lee over, build him up towards the title.
Yeah.
He's ready for the world championship. But
Don't
we
give it to
know,
him right now.
Exactly.
But
We know what happens when they take an NXT star and throw the title at them immediately. There's no build up. Then they lose it. Then they're like, and it's just like, nope, it's all gone.
You know what
It's all
sucks,
gone.
though, is it's only a double-edged sword, and they both suck. Because if they don't do that, then they take people who have massive built-up momentum,
Right.
throw a wet towel on.
and they just chill it way the fuck out.
Exactly.
And then they wonder why they're not over. It's like, they were over, you idiots.
I know. And so
you,
I hope
you put it out.
I would hope for Keith Lee's sake, once he goes into the main roster, because it's obvious it's going to happen, that they build him up and work him towards a world title match. It was way easier to do that in the 80s because you had you had house shows. You had, Saturday Night Main Event every once
Sunday Night
in
Heat.
like 2 weeks or so.
Oh, that was like once
So
every
you
couple
could-
months, I think,
You
originally.
could slowly build that up.
Yeah.
Now you've got a weekly show where it's like, well, how long can you drag that out? And so that begs you to be creative.
Yeah.
So doing that slow buildup is hard. So you have to find the right opponent. You have to find the right guy that he's going to go up against. And if you're talking about big guys, I mean, Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar, but just humor me on this one. Just humor me on this one.
I'll
This
laugh.
is just, it's not going to happen. Can you imagine what would happen if Brock Lesnar is in the frickin' Royal Rumble and he's the last one left and he's waiting on number 30 and then fucking CM Punk's music hits?
Oh, dude.
I just stopped nodding.
Dude.
2 Paul Heyman guys. And then can you imagine Paul Heyman getting in the ring, like freaking out, like, okay, guys, okay, chill the fuck out, because he's very much both CM Punk and Paul Heyman. How crazy that would be.
Their
No,
SummerSlam match from the year that Punk left,
Yeah,
that was so awesome when those two fought.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now-
I love that match.
Now that being said, it's not going to happen. But the biggest thing, the biggest crossover, the biggest ship jump that I need to see, because I am just about fed up with all this BS. It's a team that I have been very much behind ever since they first hit the scene when they were in NXT, when they came over to WWE main roster. I was like, yes, they're going to freaking kill it. And it is mainly because AEW's women's division is just trash, and it sucks.
Well,
it's not total
Be
trash.
careful, because they have a ton of talent.
It's not total trash.
The way they're
It's just-
booking it is not. There's something production. I was complaining, and this is going to sound sexist based on what I was saying earlier, because we never really worry much about what guys are wearing.
Yeah,
There's something simplistic about, Adam Page can put on just a pair of black shorts and go out and be tough, and that works.
yeah.
But there's something about the way that some of the women are costumed in AEW that makes me think of, like, the fabulous Moolah and like old like women bathing suit
Wendy,
type.
Yeah, Wendy Richter.
Just not. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that, but it bugs me.
It's a little weird, and like I said, and when trash may sound a little hard, but I'm not saying trash in terms of talent, just in terms of booking, what they're doing with it.
It's
it's
they're not doing many favors.
They need something special, and there are
Emma.
there's a team that I feel could absolutely revamp their women's division and could absolutely generate huge interest in the women's division. And I think every single member from the freaking Riot Squad needs to come over to AEW so that they could start running shit the way they should have been in WWE.
I would love that.
And instead, that's my biggest argument is WWE has taken someone super unique and kind of wild like Liv, and someone who's like, he's got that like that Viking, that Celtic personality, and somebody who's just fucking like a total punk, good wrestler, and they've systematically buried all three of them. And it's like, why would you even give them a faction? Why would you even call them the Riot Squad if all you're ever going to do is just dump them? It doesn't make any damn sense.
It sucks that I've had to start thinking of it this way, but they don't truly design every wrestler in the hopes that they're, the whole thing about this is a land of opportunity. Anybody could be champ if you get over.
Yeah.
That's absolutely untrue. They would never, even if Fandango exploded.
Oh yeah.
He's never going to be champion.
Right. Exactly. But can you imagine?
Day.
Can you imagine?
Thank you. Perfect example.
Right. Can you imagine, like Davison, you brought up earlier with Shield, like when they came out.
Yeah.
And then what the hell is this? Can you imagine if Riot Squad busted out of the freaking audience and just started beating some asses like that? And
I'd like to see that as faces too, and I'd like to see him do it against Brandy Rhodes' faction.
Oh my God, that's what I'm saying. There we go.
The Nightmare Collective.
How much heat that would generate? How many? Oh my gosh, that's what I'm saying.
That'd be sick.
I mentioned that on Instagram today. Liv posted a picture of her and Crazy Mary Dobson together. She's still crazy married to me. And
Crazy Mary.
And they're still besties and everything. And I said, I can't wait till you jump over to AEW. You can actually be appreciated for the talent that you have. And someone said, they're not going to shitty AEW. And I'm like, okay, but it's that attitude right there that's with, like, okay, but enjoy them never getting their dues. Yeah. Okay, you want to see them in WWE? Have fun. They're going to be shit on and they're never going to be anything.
Isn't that shitty how people are so stuck on WWE as a brand that they're willing to just like look past? Every one of those people has been as big a nerd about wrestling throughout periods of their life as we are. Like, we're here talking about it every week. That's how much we love it.
Right.
The people who actually dedicate their lives to doing it. And then people are just going to overlook the fact that, they just didn't have it, so they got buried. They didn't have it, so they got fired. Like, that represents that person's life work.
Right.
And creative doesn't bother even trying to give them something to do. And then you got a putz on Facebook talking about, it doesn't really matter if the people don't have any talent, the place just sucks. Like, you fucking suck.
Yeah, right.
God, I'm tired of this shit. Like, whatever, man. I appreciate not even just are they good in the ring, but just the dedication and the sacrifice of getting there.
Absolutely.
And so for people to be so dismissive of that, and for Vince to dismiss people's lives by just thrashing their careers, it just kills me.
I just feel like they would appreciate them over there. They would know how to utilize them, and they would act like that's how you build a brand. If you want to have a women's division, if you really want to rival, and do your own thing, you want to be innovative, you got to have enough women's athletes in there who can entertain, they can wrestle. They got to figure it out. And again, they're still figuring it out. And so, calling it trash may be a bit extreme. I just don't like how it's been booked so far. They've got a lot of good wrestlers. I like a lot of the women's wrestlers in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the talent. They've got wicked talent.
Right. As a whole, it is trash, but it's only because of the presentation.
Exactly. Right? Well, before we take it home, Davison, wrap it up with more crossovers that you'd like to see.
Yeah, real quick. So I didn't plan it this way, but since we're talking about invasions, this is all my people I'd like to see pop into AEW, and that covers WWE main roster, NXT, and Japan. Imagine if they had whatever happened. Let's say the Elite is in the ring at AEW, right?
Yeah.
You hear Seth Rollins' voice. now he's the man or whatever,
Yeah.
right? I bet you he's probably sick and tired of either having to be turned into this like smiley good guy who everybody hates. Like, he talks the business talk, but in my fans, let's say he gets sick of it.
Yeah.
He's yelling over the mic, and here comes his crew. It involves Matt Riddle, the Street Profits, Sami Zayn and Owens reformed as their tag team.
Wow.
Because Jesus. Drew McIntyre, and from NJPW, Gorillas of Destiny, God, Tama Tonga,
Oh my God.
and his
Yeah.
brother. All these folks popping in a giant faction into AEW. And they could be the people, and some of them, that would absolutely anchor the second show. These are all like main event.
That would
Yeah.
anchor this. That would anchor the second show.
Without a doubt. Plus, we're forgetting too.
I have
that
nothing
Adam,
to say.
Yeah. That's an especially the freaking Tongas.
Yeah, well,
Holy
and the reason
crap.
I chose him, because think about it, Rollins is absolutely good enough to be an AEW World Champion. So is Riddle. The Street Profits could absolutely hold those tag titles. God is a globally established tag team. Owens and Sammy could both run for singles titles or tag titles. And McIntyre was a huge deal on the indies when they fired him from WWE. So, I mean, they've already all proved it. I think it'd be killer for any of them to do that.
Yeah, no doubt. God, though.
God. What a good tag team name.
My own.
The Gorillas of Destiny. God.
And plus, one thing we didn't bring up, too, is, again, as we alluded to a couple of weeks ago, Adam Cole's contract coming to an end.
Adam Cole, baby.
Adam Cole may get the rocket strapped to him because he looks exactly like a young Shawn Michaels.
He does look like a...
You know what I mean?
So
He's
we'll
just
see.
a sexy boy.
He's pretty sexy.
We'll be back next week. That'll be a wrap-up for the month. Next week's episode, we're going to take a week off, and then we'll be back with a couple of independent wrestlers. I think Hype Shawan is going to come on and join us.
Hey, hype. I believe the hype.
Also, the Grey Wolves. They're from the east side, but
Wolves?
they're going to...
Grey Wolves?
What's that?
Grey Wolves?
The Grey Wolves.
Wolves?
Wolves.
Wolves?
Wolves.
Wolves.
Whip.
Whip.
Cool
Cool
whip.
whip. Is Liam Neeson coming through? Fucking love Liam Neeson. I'm going to get taken.
I don't
want to be
You took my family.
He's taking my heart.
You took my podcast.
Quit playing games with my heart.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting show. Either way, much love. Make sure you subscribe on 1049 The Edge's YouTube to the Most Crucial Podcast and the Crucial Squared Circle. Of course, you can always watch this and all the other episodes of Crucial Podcasts on 1049theedge.com. Just click the 1049 The Edge Crucial Podcasts tab.
Hey, franchise.
Yeah.
Don Imus is dead.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Don Imus is dead. And that's the bottom line, because Crucial Podcast said so.
R.I.P.
God damn it.